Okay, we're going to get started now. We're going to operate this the way we have run it for the last, I think it's 9 months. We will go through the agenda, and then we will open it up to questions after we go through the agenda. You can use the chat button to ask questions and try to direct them to either Candy Whitman or myself, and then we will direct them to the relevant places. The meeting tonight, we're going to, the agenda is to approve the minutes, do the treasurer's report, get an update from IHP on the COVID guidelines, especially for Thanksgiving, as well as the same thing from the ferry and the COVID protocols for Thanksgiving. Do a little update on the school renovation project and the referendum vote, and then a few very brief updates at the end. With that, I know the minutes have been distributed. I know I've commented on them. I hope others have. Can I have a motion to approve or edit or anything else the minutes from last meeting, from the October 13th? Thank you, Dickie. All approve? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, go past. Okay, Dickie, can you give us a treasurer's report?
Sure. Thanks, everybody. Treasurer's report is really brief. We have in our checking account $6,169 as of today, and with an additional $999 in our PayPal account. We have received donations from a couple of organizations and a few individuals, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has made those donations. They continue to be important to support our mission, to be that forum for the island priorities. We have a utility bill due and $42.67. That will be paid. And most importantly, I'd like to put for motion, I'd like to move that we approve payment to Mary Beth Guimaras of $1,100.28, representing her expenses over the past few months. Can I get a second for that motion?
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. You're doing great. So pleased to have you in this role.
Little
Really,
trial and
really,
error.
Really been helpful. With that, why don't we move right on to IHP and Chris? I see he's on. I know that the team that's been, the IHP ICB team met last week and went over some of the concerns and issues and changes with the New York State rules, et cetera. So Chris, I'll open it up to you.
Well, to begin with, I'm happy to say that we've got no new cases. The cases that we're following relative to the oyster farm, we've had no cases that have developed out of that one exposure. Secondly, we're following some individuals who are contacts of contacts, and these two individuals happen to be from the school. They are quarantining at the moment, waiting for tests of those contacts of contacts, which are basically family members who had contact with other people who were in contact with people who were positive. So the connection is rather remote, but we're being as cautious as possible, and Christian's being very helpful with all that.
Chris, you're fading in and out. If you could speak right to the speaker, I think that would help.
Okay, sorry. Thirdly, we are approaching Thanksgiving, and we probably won't have another meeting before then. And so I just urge you all to be particularly cautious at the time. As everybody knows, the cases are going upward, not downward. And if people are intending to meet with other family members with whom they haven't been living with currently, there's the added risk at this point that people will be bringing the virus into new in expanded cohorts. I urge everybody to insist amongst those people who you will be meeting that people quarantine before getting together, testing before getting together, waiting for the results of the test before getting together. And then for those who leave and then rejoin other communities afterwards, to basically repeat that same process again for the sake of the groups that they're returning to. I'd be happy to talk to anyone and everyone if they're having problems trying to figure out the logistics of that. Just get in contact with me or Meki or really anybody in the office, and we can work out a plan that would be appropriate. I think that's about it.
Let me add a couple of things. For those of you that didn't have a chance to read it, we did. Chris did post a letter on Fishnet, I think 8 or 10 days ago, which updated everybody about not only the situation on the island and the requests for the Thanksgiving protocol, but also did provide a link to New York State with their new protocols for if people are coming from a quote unquote bad state into New York, what they can do to shorten their quarantine period. So I would hope that if you are having families join you on the island for Thanksgiving, that you'll read that letter, and if you haven't already, and check the protocols. The key is testing before you can come, and staying obviously within your own cohorts, because contact tracing may work well on the island still, but I don't think it works too well on the mainland anymore. So that's really, really important. It also in that letter, if it doesn't mention it, most if you can't get a test from your local doctor or from your local hospital or from L&M, you can get them you can go on CVS.com and schedule your own at a CVS near your house. So that's another way to make sure that you're getting the test before you come. With that, Jeb, I see he's on, and obviously there's a lot of concern about people not being able to social distance or be outside on the ferry if the weather's not good given the time of year. So you want to talk about that a little bit, please?
Yes, thanks, Willard. Yes, the ferry we are running the Montauk. The Race Point is hauled out for the next few months. We've got 2 ferries in particular that are have upwards of 60, 70 people on it. That's our morning 7 o'clock boat going to the island and the 4:45 in the afternoon. The rest of the boats we are managing with no more than, say, 30 passengers, many of which are sitting in their cars, which is great. We are sequestering or cordoned off all the school children on that morning and evening boat. You'll notice as you ride the boat that there's a curtain all the way down the middle, and the school children and the teachers ride on one side and the passengers ride on the other. We ask those 2 boats that's the way it stays, but the other boats, anybody can sit anywhere. We are washing the boat or cleaning the boat once a day. We are fogging the boat, disinfecting the boat twice a day after the majority of the trips. We are doing our best. We are maintaining 100% a rule that everybody wears their mask 100% of the time while on the boat. Let's see, we do, as I said, encourage everybody to stay in the car. In addition, we've got a schedule in place that is published and available this Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We've got a late boat, 8:30, and that meets the New York Amtrak, the 824 out of New York and the 817 out of Boston, and we will wait for those trains to arrive before we depart. That is the last ferry of the night on Wednesday. Lastly, Willard, I want to touch on last time I gave an update to the ICB. We were in we were forecasting a financial situation that was not, we were not looking forward to, and through the course of the summer and hard work by our Board of Commissioners, our Finance Committee, and management, we've managed to stabilize and are looking much better than we were. Lastly, I encourage anyone with questions, comments, to please send them to info@fiferry.com. That's info@fiferry.com, or feel free to give me a call. I'm glad to respond.
Hey, Jeb, one other thing, we want to make sure that everybody is filling out the fall census that comes on the island. So do we have signs at the ferry? And did we put were you able to put anything up on the website for when people make their reservation that they would be reminded to fill out the census?
That will be in place this week. We just had to do some modifications, but the census is available by a button on the on our website. But we will be having a banner up for as you make your reservation.
Okay, I know Mekki will be and Chris will be pleased about that. And please, all of you, if you're talking to any of your family or friends and they're coming on, remind them to fill out the census. Remind them that they have to wear masks at all times when traveling back and forth to the island, and hopefully everybody will stay in their cohorts, and we'll all stay safe. And we'll take questions at the end. We're going to go through a few of the other items. Next, we have school and Christian.
Great.
Christian.
Thanks, Willard. I'm going to share my screen. Before I do that, though, I just wanted to give everybody an update on the school and our COVID opening plans and now continuation operational plans. I'm extremely proud and happy to report that Fishers Island School has not had a positive case of COVID for a staff member or student since we started on September 1st. On Wednesday, we have completed 1 quarter of our school year. We're now in the 2nd quarter. So it speaks towards the plan that we were able to put into place with the support of IHP and ICB and the rest of the island community. Our #1 goal is to take every single precaution we can, not just to keep our students safe and our staff safe, but everybody here on the island. And it's just a really, I'm just so grateful for everybody's support on behalf of our school, because our school, unlike I would say most others at this point, have not had an interruption of education. Our students are doing an awesome job of following the rules. Our parents have been very supportive, and I cannot speak enough of the support that Dr. Ingram and IHP have given us through this year. As Chris mentioned, we are being overly cautious, more than any other school that I'm aware of, by holding people from the building that are contacts of contacts. We are not taking any chances. So we have had a few scenarios this year where staff members and or students have been held back. Chris and I are in constant consultation on individual scenarios. But we, unlike other schools who are just holding back direct contacts, we're taking an additional layer just to be as safe as possible, because we know how limited resources are here on the island, and we want to do whatever we can to protect everybody. So all of that is very positive news from the school year point of view. But what I was asked to talk about today was an update on our capital improvement project referendum. It is scheduled for December 1st from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the community center. And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see that. What you are going to be receiving, all the mailboxes will receive a mailer with the specifics on the referendum vote, the time, the place that I just mentioned, in addition to this 2-page front and back flyer that our architects made. And it just outlines the key points of the project, what we're focusing on, which is security enhancements, our elementary education area, our media center, mechanical upgrades, and then site upgrades. So you have some pictures of what it looks like on the front of the flyer, which will be in your mailbox, hopefully by Friday. That's our goal. And then the second page will have obviously the costs that we've gone through, the fact that we're doing a 16-year bond, the very conservative outlook on what the potential interest rate would be, and then on the bottom, a project timeline. So December 1st is the vote. We would then hopefully, with a positive vote, move to our design phase, which would last until July of this year. We would then work with the New York State Department of Education to have our project approved. Then next winter, we would start the bidding and contract award phase with a hopeful groundbreaking on the start of the construction for summer 2022, and do substantial construction during that first summer, get to the point where we can have the school year for that middle year there, and then finish up major parts of the construction in summer of 23. As I said, everybody will have this in their mailboxes here on Fisher's Island, but I will also put a link in the chat of our website, which has all of this information, as well as the legal notices and any other information that you need on the project. Jane has also been very kind to create a separate page on FishNet for us. But the most important thing is, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to talk through the project as much as I can. And we are holding a formal Board of Education hearing as well in advance of our board meeting next Wednesday, November 18th. And that'll be at 5:30, available via Zoom for anybody that would like to do that, to ask any questions of our board as well. So once again, I appreciate everybody's support on this. We've had nothing but just positive reviews and thoughts about, this project and what it can do for our kids. But if there's anything else that I can do to help explain or go through, I'm happy to do so in advance of the vote. And just know how much your support means to our students and our staff. And as I said, I think the main focus of what we try to do here is just have a school that's worthy of the people that live here and worthy to attract more people to live here, because I think the school is really at the heart of that choice, and something that means a lot to all of us. So thank you for the time, and do not hesitate to reach out if there's anything I can do.
Thanks, Christian. It seems like a great project. And as you said, it is a key component, along with the housing, of attracting people to live on the island year round. And in some ways, we couldn't be luckier, because interest rates are so low that the cost of financing this project at this time is extremely attractive. I think your material says that it's going to be about $290 per $500,000 in house value, in terms of the impact on people's taxes if this passes. So it's something that would be shared by the whole community, all the tax-paying base, and at a very attractive time in terms of issuing bonds. So,
and I would just mention that $299 per the $500,000 house, that's the most conservative, as we can be.
Right.
That's factoring in it costs every penny that we think it's going to cost. It is not factoring in, what the interest rate will actually be like once we have to borrow. So that's the highest.
Well, yeah, and the assumption on interest rates is, if the ferry district's financing is any indication, the assumptions on the interest rates, if anything, they're going to be, the real rate will be lower, probably than what they used in the model.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have questions, we'll hold them to the end again. Now we have a couple of updates. Before I pass it to Candy, let me go through some others really quickly. We got a nice update from Matt Edwards today that Walsh Park, the Ferry Building, while it's taken an extra long time to get the certificate of occupancy, and they had to do a few changes recently, that everything is now set and on the desk of the individual who has to sign the CEO, and he returns to the office on Thursday. So they expect that they will have a CO for the Ferry Building apartments by, if not the end of this week, certainly by next week. So that's just great news. The second item is we've had some situations and a lot of emails back and forth about the coyotes on the island. And yes, they're there. And yes, this is the time of year where they're out looking for more food and eating pumpkins. And we've had some sad situations where someone's lost a pet. But I will say that Jane put up a great letter on the website, which gives everyone some indication of how they should sort of act and behave this time of year with the coyotes out and looking for food. And I know that if we have questions, if that document doesn't answer the questions, which I think it should, Tom Sargent has been kind enough to come onto the call, and he can answer any questions that people have. But as he would say, I'll quote him, "We've been living with the coyotes on the island for 20 years, and they have reduced the rat population. So so they've been a good part of our ecosystem, and hopefully we can find a way to be cautious and vigilant and keep them away from being a true problem on the island. And if they are, then we will need to address that." Additionally, I have sent a letter to the town of Southold, to Vinnie Orlando directly, asking him for an update on road repairs. And I've asked him to give us a summary of what major repairs have been done over the last 2 years and what's scheduled for the next year, because we really don't know what the plans are. And we were, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we had some work done up by the market and down by the Red Barn, but I don't think there's been anything since. So we just wanted to get an update on that we could share with the community. And so when we hear from him, we will let you know. Finally, the last update, Candy's going to talk about the Seagrass Coalition. There was a fine report published, and she's going to give a quick summary on that, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Everybody, hoping that you can see this. And thank you, Willard. This is a very brief update from the Fishers Island Seagrass Management Coalition. As you know, we have an incredibly precious resource around our shores, which is the seagrass. And just to recap, it is a habitat to many, many marine animals. It reduces shoreline erosion, and it also stores a lot of carbon. So I'm very proud of this coalition, which brings together many, many stakeholders on Fishers Island who are working together to preserve what we have. As you may know, much of the seagrass in the Long Island Sound is long gone. About a quarter of what remains in the Long Island Sound is what we have around Fishers Island. So we really need to work hard to preserve it. So over the summer, we held some educational webinars. I think some of you may have attended them. And we also invited people to participate in a usage survey. So thank you to those who responded. In order to figure out how best to preserve the seagrass, we needed to know what was being used and how much and how, and your responses helped us figure that out. So here is just some screen grabs from this wonderful software we've been using called C-Sketch. It's web-based, and you can input all sorts of data and start to see what's going on our shoreline and figure out what would be a realistic way to set goals for the preservation of the seagrass. Hopefully not just preserving what's there, but encouraging growth, allowing for growth if that's at all possible. So we've been working on that this summer, and we have some draft plans, and that's where you come in again. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how this works, and it's not letting me move forward. There we go. We have these draft plans, which means we have tentatively designated some management areas and also figured out what restrictions in terms of recreational or commercial activity we would place on those areas. We have been very realistic in setting our goals, not wanting to interfere with recreation, but also realizing that in some places we have to be a little bit ambitious. So we are inviting the community again to join us for 2 webinars in early to mid-December. We hope that you will participate. The dates will be announced on Fishnet and also on the FI Seagrass website, fiseagrass.net. And we really hope that you will come and comment, ask questions, get familiar with the kinds of things we are thinking about. And as soon as we have community input, very important part of this, we will then be reaching out to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and then to Southold, get with them, make sure everything is in alignment, and then hopefully get these things in place as soon as possible. So that's my presentation basically, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end of the meeting.
Great, thanks, Candy. Super. Okay, we'll open it up for questions, and please use the chat screen and to send them to Candy and myself. One question that came up was the sidewalk project different from the road project or the same? No, the sidewalks are all scheduled, and if Louise is on, she can update us, but there's they've been approved. The engineering is supposed to be being done. The bids out to the contractors should be in a January, February timeframe with work done in the April, May timeframe. So this request of Vinnie Orlando and the road update is on the roads, not the sidewalks. We believe we have a firm timeline. Well, I guess nothing's firm with the community, but we have a pretty firm timeline on the sidewalks, and we just want to also know about what's been done relative to the roads, or what's going to be done. Another question we have is, Chris, can you talk about the testing? We don't want people to think that everything is as smooth or the same as it was during the as we were fortunate enough to have during the summer.
So we were alerted by the lab over at L&M that wait times would extend to 2 to 3 days. That has not always been the case. Sometimes we're getting results back in a day. And I think that on the occasion, we've had test results come back more like 5 days. I wish there were a way to figure out what the pattern is, but I just can't do it. Every day is sort of a new day. So I think the important thing to do is to give yourself the maximum amount of time for results to come back before you plan to see people. So I would give 3 to 4 days, and know that you may be waiting an extra day also, or you may be surprised that it'll come back the following day.
Yeah, and that just reminds everybody that getting the test, if you're coming up from the New York area, you can get the test in Greenwich or whatever, but if you can get it 3 or 4 days in advance, that would be, and then quarantine yourself for, that would be very helpful. Paul Giles has sent a note saying that the fire district has secured 2 EMTs for the Thanksgiving week to cover for the shortage of EMTs off the island during that period. That's fantastic, Paul. Thank you very, very much. That's great to know. If you have any questions for him, he's happy to come on and speak. So let us know if there's any questions for Paul as well.
Willard,
Yeah.
there's a question that came just to me in the
Okay.
chat room
Yep.
from SHP, Sharon Patterson. The question
Okay.
is, what about the fire department building?
It's not
Paul-
Sharon Patterson, that's Sarah Porter.
Sarah
Okay.
Porter. All right, Sarah, apologies. Sarah wants to know, what about the fire department building? Can Paul speak to that?
Paul?
He's
You might be on mute. Let me see if I can.
Sorry, I just had to figure out how to get off mute.
It's okay. Thanks, Paul.
We're progressing with the fire department building pretty well. We just got some pretty substantial set of drawings from the architect. We're working with our lawyer, and as Christian can tell you, it's not simple. You have to go through a lot of hoops. You have to divide it up into many different scopes because you can't build it as one big package. But we're doing very well, and we hope to get it out to bid here, well, maybe within a month, if all goes well. And then we'll have some information where we can start getting back to you guys and telling you, we really need to get that number before we can start reporting on what it's going to cost. And even though we know what we want, what we need, which leads directly to the shortage of EMTs, which I just mentioned, we need to get this building built desperately. We need to hire somebody full-time because we're at critical mass. And the volunteers we have are very, very dedicated. And I want to thank any of them and all of them that are on this call. But they're covering nonstop 24/7. So anyway, we're moving forward. In the answer to your question, we'll have some information for you very shortly. But that's all I have to report at this time. Other than that, it would be premature.
Great. Thanks, Paul.
Paul,
Andy, do you have
another
any?
question that came to me. Will there be a referendum? These questions came to me just personally in the chat
Yeah,
room.
the
But
ISP secretary.
will there be a referendum for the fire department building renovation?
There absolutely will be. Yes, we have to wait. Again, we have to wait until we have all the information
have a number.
for the public. Yes.
Thank you.
Candy, do you have any questions? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. There's a question that was sent to everyone, and I think this might be a Chris question. We haven't been on the island for 4 weeks, and we don't have any plans to return in the near future. As a result, I've been ignoring the periodic survey. Is this the proper way to handle it?
I'll answer that. You should unsubscribe to the survey. And once you leave the island and you're not back on, when you get an email, you can go to the bottom of the survey and unsubscribe. And that way, then the contact tracing people will know that you have left the island. Otherwise, they would have no way of knowing. If you just ignore it, you're still on the list, and they think you're still going back and forth to the island. So that maybe we should put that on the website also. A note that they should unsubscribe.
That was a great question.
Yep, good question.
That question, yeah.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, we will, Susie, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope, you guys have it all in good shape. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Please be very vigilant over this next 2 weeks. I know that the number of cases is just increasing rampantly, and people who never thought that they would get it are getting it. So be careful, be vigilant, and make Chris's Thanksgiving as best as it can be.